Hey guys, I apologize for the chicken, and also this isn't like a milling video. This is just something I've been thinking about, so I apologize. If you're looking for a milling video, this one wouldn't be the one for you guys. But a while back I was talking about when I bought this sawmill, the reasons why I got it. One of the reasons I got it was because of the size of log it would handle. So the ones that were sold here in the United States, a lot of them in my price range would only do like a 24 to 26 inch log diameter. And one of the questions I get is how big of a log will this cut? So from this, where the water comes out, to that blade guide is 31 inches. So the cut across is 31 inches. From the blade down to the bunk, there's 31 inches, just about 31 inches. So both ways, right about 31 inches. And I got this particular mill because it's still in my price range and it would handle those larger logs. So when I first started milling, I thought it would be necessary for me to do bigger logs because I thought it would be easier. I know everybody can probably laugh at me now that sawmilled logs, but I naively thought larger logs would be easier because you put them up on there, you just put them up on there once, you get your boards out of it, you don't have to keep slapping logs up there. I figured bigger logs, easier, but no. There's a lot of work moving them. So when I bought my mill, I wanted to get a winch on it, and for this particular one, the RS31G, I could not get a winch package on it. You could only get it on it if you got it with the trailer, so it would be portable, which I considered doing, but I kind of wanted to put it in this shed, and I didn't really need it to be portable, and I didn't want to pay the up cost for it to be portable, so I didn't get it. And I thought, no big deal not having a winch. There's also no way on here, like some of the nicer machines that you buy that cost more, they'll have a log turner on it. So where am I getting at with all this? One of the things I've been really struggling with that I would have never thought of when I thought of safety, and of course when you think of safety, you think of this, the blade, right? As long as you don't touch the blade, everything's gonna be fine. Like, this is the most dangerous thing of it, I thought, before purchasing. But what I'm finding out is one of the more dangerous parts of milling is getting the log flipped and turned, not getting yourself in any bad situations and pinned. Now, when you're dealing with smaller logs, like let's say 8 foot long by like 20 diameter, it's a lot more manageable for one person to do. But when you have, let's say 23, 24 inch diameter logs that are over 20 feet long, it becomes a real pain. So something you may want to consider is if you're by yourself or you don't have access to help and you're wanting to do these larger diameter, larger length logs, you may want to consider what are you going to do as far as turning the log on the deck whenever you get it on there. Now, I have access to a Bobcat with the forestry claw on it, the forestry tool, or whatever you want to call it, attachment. And it's great for picking up the log. It handles the log, but it's hard to see. So it's hard to know if you're right up against your backstops or if you're over the top of something you shouldn't be. So I always have to have an extra set of eyes just kind of watching everything and yell at me if anything gets too close. So I'm lucky I have 2 older children, a son and a daughter. And my son usually is the one that helps me, and he does an amazing job for what we're doing. So I couldn't really ask much more for him. And he wasn't available last weekend, so I had my daughter helping me, and we had a bad accident. And it was just involving flipping a log. I don't really want to go into detail about the accident, but it's just something I want to put out there, because if you want to do these big logs, just make sure you have a way to flip it. Because on this particular mill, the RS31G, there was no option for a winch or like any accessory to rotate it. Now I can come up with something, and I've seen people do it, and I'm probably going to have to look into that. But the thing I'm questioning now is did I really need to get such a large mill? And I'm sure I'm going to really appreciate being able to do the larger diameter logs, especially the shorter ones. But I didn't fully think out how I was going to be moving them on the deck safely. And I'm kind of one of those people, and I apologize if you, when you're watching my videos, like I'm not wearing safety glasses. I'm not always wearing like steel-toed shoes, and really I should be. So I hope when people are watching my videos, they don't take it as like an instructional video. These are all just my experiences. So I'm showing you the mistakes I make, and especially for a new person that's just thinking about it, because that's what I am. Like somebody that's experienced is probably having a lot of laughs at my expense on some of my videos. But one thing I just really want to put out there is just consider the safety, consider how you're going to move it on that deck. Because if it's just you or you and you think maybe one of your kids can help you, they may be able to, but if you're wanting to do larger logs, there are risks involved, and it's more than just that blade. It's getting pinned inside of these rails in a bad position. It's just getting your hands smashed. We were being extra careful when we were working, and an accident still happened. So things happen. Now this, one thing that you don't think about is this deck here, from the back to where it, you know, falls off the front here, is only like 30 inches. So if you had a log like I did that's sitting up against that back, and it's 12¼ inches thick, so it's sitting on that 12¼ inches, and then it's somewhere around 20, it was probably like 22 inches tall or something like that. So you have something that's 12 inches on the base, and then, you know, at least 22 inches tall. When that thing flips over, it's going to flip over from that, you know, counting over 12 inches from here, and then laying on its side, that's 22 inches. So what happens a lot of times is if you can't control that log flipping over, it'll not only flip over and possibly hurt someone, but it can flip over and actually slide off. The momentum will actually make it slide off the whole entire bunks. And if you can imagine being in between the rails and a log, you don't want to be there. Now, I'm not saying that's what happened. Like I said, I don't want to talk about our exact scenario. I may one day, right now I don't want to keep reliving it, so. But I just want to answer those questions on how big of a log it'll handle. And yes, it will handle a good sized log. But one thing I just want people to consider is how you're going to manage rotating it on there. Because you're going to have a big cant hook, and even with a big cant hook or access to tools, there's still obstacles in your way. Now, one of the things that happened when loading this log, and I'm being honest with everybody, I don't think I was pushing hard or anything like that. It actually rolled. I mean, I wasn't behind here actually getting to see it, but it rolled. And you can see what it did to this backstop. So even with the machine, you know, right there's the teeth on it that can load a log on here, and I loaded it and it was kind of banana shaped, so it had a curve in it, and the first things that touched were the back and the front. And when it rolled over and went up against them, the back and the front took damage. And this was just from a log, I would say, if I had to guess, around 4,000 pounds. And it was, you know, 24-inch diameter log that was over 20 feet long. And it caused this little break here in the weld, and then the one in the back was a lot worse. So I don't know. Like I said, I'm not a professional welder, so I'll let you guys look at that and decide, you know, was it me being too rough? Could the weld be better? Is it the material? You know, definitely fixable, not a huge deal. It was actually bent back probably about like this, and we had to hit it back up like that. And I haven't had any problems since, even with it just bent back there. It was just a big log rolled into it, and that's what happened. May I have been putting pressure with the skid loader on it? I don't think I was, but I won't say it's impossible, because like I said, I wasn't spotting in the back because I can't actually see back there when I'm loading. So things to consider, guys. The sawmill is cutting really good. As far as the vibration issue, I'm going to say this. I tightened up the bolts. I got some more bolts on the way. Yes, I definitely noticed vibration when I'm cutting anything like, say, above 14 diameter or 14 across, you know, especially like the ones that are in the 20s. It's definitely, you can just feel so much pull as it's pulling through this wet pin oak. And it's, what it's doing is I think it's just pulling the chassis back and forth. Like that's what's actually causing the vibration. I don't know if I don't know if putting a bolt in here will help or not, but I'm still gonna try it because I don't see how it could hurt it, and just, you know, make these two as one to see if that helps. Because I do notice when it starts to vibrate, and here is one of the places it's allowed to flex a little bit. So I'm wondering if I just stiffen it up, even though you have all that torque pulling up here on the blade, maybe it'll stiffen up a little bit. I cut some smaller diameter. I didn't videotape it. I will get to videotaping some smaller stuff. It just flies right through it. I almost feel like I could run through it. That's how fast it's cutting through with a dull blade. So I cut some stuff that was like maybe 6 to 8 inches across, up to maybe 10 to 12 inches across, and it was just flying through it. Like there was no hint of vibration or hang up. It's just with those fat pin oaks with very wet wood. Like the wood, the sawdust that was coming out was like so sticky, like you could make like a ball out of it. I don't know if that's normal or not, but like it was just very heavy, wet, thick sawdust that was coming out of it. So I'm sure it was just taking a lot of torque to pull through it. But guys, I can't say it enough. Think about some of the safety things as far, and there's nothing, the only thing safety wise with this machine I would like to see is a way to lock out this throttle. If you could lock out this throttle and just let it idle when it's cold, or, you know, when you're turning a log or something, when it's cold out, you don't want to keep starting it, that would be amazing. And I'm sure there's a way to do it. It's just I haven't gotten to it yet. But the last thing you want to do is you just want to have this thing over here idling when you do maybe have somebody else around helping you, and you keep looking back and seeing this, and you're like, stay away from the handle back there, stay away from the handle. So it'd be nice if you could just lock that out, or even if there was something that, you know, you flipped that was inside of the housing on the pulleys where it just like, you know, maybe clamped the blade to where it wouldn't even allow the blade to move. I don't know, anything would just make me feel safer, and just let it idle, because I don't want to keep turning it off and on. It's not really good on motors to do that all the time, because it'd be better just to let it idle for a few minutes until you use it again. But that, to me, that's the only thing I've seen so far as the machine that I question about safety. Other than that, it's just you're compensating money, saving money on not getting some of these features. And if you really want to do big logs, be better than me and think a little more about it, or else something bad can happen. And I don't want that to happen. So be safe, everybody. Sorry this video was so long. Sorry it wasn't milling. I promise hopefully here and next week I'm gonna get some smaller stuff. And then we'll actually, I said like the other logs were good tests, but really that was a pretty big test. So I'd like to put something on there on a different species that's a little smaller, and then you guys can actually see what it really looks like in normal circumstances, I guess. All right, talk to you guys later.